Daredevil is a side-scrolling action game published by Encore Entertainment and released on the Game Boy Advance back in 2003. While Daredevil is an awesome character with some great comics and a terrific TV show, this game is based on the weaker entry in the Daredevil franchise, the 2003 film starring Ben Affleck. Daredevil opens with some stills taken directly from the film, but after that, the two split ways completely. Like most licensed shovelware, Daredevil has very little to do with the movie, and is more or less a generic game with some licensed characters thrown in. In this case, Daredevil is a generic side-scroller. You fight your way through nameless bad guys, reach the end of the stage, and move on. Occasionally, a cutscene with some equally generic dialogue will attempt to move the plot along, giving a nod to the source material, but that's about it. For those not familiar with Daredevil, Matt Murdock is a blind lawyer by day and a vigilante by night. Being blind, all of his other senses are heightened, allowing him to clean up the mean streets of Hell's Kitchen, New York. The game mostly ignores the mythos, however, and the stages take place during the day. The actual fighting is borderline terrible. Rapidly pressing punch will perform a simple combo. You can also jump kick, leg swipe, and perform this awkward tornado kick move. The controls are actually fine, and maneuvering the stages isn't really an issue. The double jump works well enough, and Daredevil feels more agile than stiff. It is the enemies that are the problem. After you hit them, they will either fall down or be stunned. When they come to, they will actually block for a few moments. After they stop blocking, you can then attack them again. This process can repeat 3 or 4 times. As a result, you spend a lot of time in Daredevil just waiting for enemies to stop blocking. This entire mechanic also means fighting more than one enemy at a time is a chore, as they each block at different times. It's very easy to become overwhelmed if multiple enemies swarm you at once. As they each take forever to kill, you end up taking a lot of damage. I think the developers knew this, however, as half the enemies drop health power-ups upon defeat. There is just an overwhelming feeling of sloppiness with the combat as a whole, and it's not particularly fun. The only nod to Daredevil here is hidden items. Occasionally, Daredevil will sense an item is near, but the player can't see it. Pressing the left trigger will engage a blind vision mode of sorts, revealing the item and allowing you to collect it. Collecting things is also one of the objectives of the game. Each stage has hidden Daredevil logos to collect, but as far as I can tell, there is really no incentive to do this. Rounding out the action are power-ups that give you additional strength or defense and plenty of extra lives. You'll need the extra lives too, because there is no checkpoint system in Daredevil. When you die, you start the level over. This means you can't rush through a level to reach a checkpoint. You must painstakingly defeat every enemy, while absorbing as little damage as possible. The level design starts off basic, but once you head down to the sewers, it gets much more maze-like. As the levels get more complex, the aggravation of the awkward combat and lack of checkpoints really sets in. Daredevil starts feeling very grindy, and there just isn't much fun to be had. Daredevil's visuals aren't terrible, but it feels there is about as much thought put into them as the combat. There is little difference between the foreground and background, and there is an overall blandness here that permeates through the entire game. Same goes for the soundtrack. The music is generic, doesn't really fit the comic book superhero theme, nor is it offensive, but it just doesn't do anything for me. About the only nod to the fact this is a comic book game are the visual cues when killing an enemy. Nothing else captures the feeling at all. Overall, Daredevil for the Game Boy Advance is an underwhelming experience. The terrible combat and weak game design as a whole make this one tough to recommend. Perhaps someday Daredevil will get an awesome game to match the awesome character, but this Game Boy Advance game doesn't cut it. 2 out of 5.